Good day at the office, guys. We solved a mystery by the people just dropping dead. We walked away with zero repercussions, and we learnt nothing. Be back tomorrow.
Can't wait for the lore dump at the end of the game.
Exactly. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the HGO podcast. I'm one of your hosts today, Ethan, and joining me, as always, are my good friends, Kyle.
Hello.
And Hunter. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing just swell.
You know, Kyle, it was very awkward when we were doing the spoiler cast, because not only did I have to change my little intro to not include you, but then also in the outro, we felt you're missing Sia. There's literally, if you go back and watch it, there's literally like a 2-second gap where just nothing is said in the outro, because...
I literally waited a beat for the Sia. Yeah.
I appreciate you, Hunter.
Yeah, it felt
And
weird.
good to know my presence or absence is felt.
Yeah, it was. It genuinely was.
I still need to go and listen to that. I just haven't had time.
It was a ride. It's available now on youtube.com/games only and on the podcast service feed, just the regular feed. It was a fun time. It wasn't so fun in the recording process because my PC crashed for the first time ever during a recording. Luckily, it was only in the
It's
first 3
cuckooed
minutes.
at the mention of Twilight Princess.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then
No.
two, because of the crash and because of everything else, we started the recording really late and it was over 2 hours. So by the time I got to bed, it was like 2:15, and then I had to go to
Defeated
work.
the purpose of us starting early.
Yeah,
That
it kind of
explains.
defeated it.
That explains it.
But hey, it was fun. So if you want to go and check that out, feel free to go and do so. And thanks for 250 subscribers, I guess. That happened. So
Thanks for almost
cheers.
275.
Yeah.
No, thank you. We're working on another little project. I don't know what we're going to do with it in regards to YouTube, in regards to everything else, because I don't we chuck a lot of stuff, and I like chucking stuff, but I also don't want to chuck stuff if it's not going to work. So we need to work on the background stuff. It's coming later. I think, did we mention it on recording? I feel like we mentioned an idea of it on recording at some point, but I'm just going to not mention it now for a couple of weeks. But new stuff's coming. Probably in July or August when me and Hunter have a bit more free time. And Kyle, who knows? Maybe Kyle. Kyle will show up on that.
Am I not included in this?
You can come in whenever you want, dude.
I think I know what you're talking about, but maybe I don't.
It's not the one that will require a lot of planning and coordination. It's the other one. That's all I'll say. That's what I've said to everybody.
Then I don't think I know what you're talking about.
You kind of. We've mentioned it in the past. This isn't a podcast talk, but we're going to have to pad because we've literally got Raincoat and nothing else to talk about this week. So, you know.
You've certainly told me at some point, but I have definitely forgotten.
Well,
It's like how I told him that, what is it? The one game he picked for the draft wasn't going to come out.
Oh,
because it was
yeah.
made by a Ukrainian developer. Then he completely ignored me and picked it
Carried on
anyway, and then
yeah.
forgot that I told him this when we did the episode.
Look, I don't know how many times we have to go over this. Podcast recordings in one ear, out the other. Once we hit stop recording, it's done. It's gone.
The only hint I'll give you.
My brain hits Alt F4 on these conversations.
Fine. I'll give you a hint, and I'll give the audience the hint, and hopefully it won't give it away to either of you. No, it should give it away to you because there's two ideas. There's one that is internally classed as a limited run. It's not that one. That's not the one. It's the other idea, which the only hint I can give. And by the way, do not expect this on whenever it shows up in August, but it's to do with games. And the only game that I think that you'll know of that we talked on in the past is Metal Gear. That's the only thing that I will say. It's that idea. But that's the one, not the limited one.
Be the first one.
And that's not the first thing that we're doing, just a spoiler for you.
Damn. But that Metal Gear collection's coming.
Yeah, that's why we have to wait until October.
That's why you gotta wait.
November.
Yeah, it's gonna be coming sooner than that. But there is a show. There's a hint that it's about video games. Metal Gear will show up at some point. Those are all the hints that you get. That's all I can say.
Games and Metal Gear will show up.
If you want to know how early this is, me and
Just like
Hunter,
the Game Awards.
Me and Hunter have probably been talking about this again internally for about a month, and it's that early in the development. The show doesn't have a name yet. Like the other show that we were planning to launch this year at some point, but it was supposed to be at 250, but now it's gone all to fucking pot. That has a name, and it's just sitting on the back shelf. That one's going to be waiting a while. This one doesn't have a name. It's coming.
HGO
Thank you so
suffering
much.
from success.
Yeah, not for long. Don't worry. We've had our little rise,
We've
and
had
now we're
the
gonna
spike,
sit.
now we
We're
get
gonna
to sit here
park
and
and
I
buzz
think
buzz.
I think
about
it
what we've
stopped.
Yeah, I think we're going to park. So if you are new here and you enjoy this kind of chaos that we throw out every week, please subscribe. We've got a lot of stuff coming out in the near future. We've got a couple of shows that we need to work on, and they're getting more and more real by the day, I guess. So please subscribe. And if you're on podcast services, please follow and keep up to date with everything. You can either go to Twitter. Twitter is dying this
Wow,
week.
you still can.
So you can go to Twitter if you want to keep up to date with updates. But also, as of either last week or the week before, I've started using the communities tab on YouTube. So if you want to subscribe on YouTube but still listen on podcast services, if you go to the community tab, if there's updates, I'll start posting them on YouTube so that everybody can kind of get on an even playing field. No one has to use our tweets as one of their 600 tweets they're now allowed because Elon's gone crazy. But yeah, there's plenty of stuff to come. And thank you ever so much for the support as you continue to do so. This week, it's our last new game for a little while. So buckle up, buckaroos. Yeah. We're talking about Master Detective Archives Raincode. Everyone's favourite name for a video game. I just call it Raincode. I don't know why the little first bit's there. But, oh well. We're talking about Raincode. So me and Hunter have been playing it. We'll give you some first impressions.
The funny thing is that it's almost like the Master Detective, because I went to seek out a box at the store and they didn't have any. I had to take the L and buy this one digitally. But
I have a box.
Anyway, there was a display copy and I looked at it, and Master Detective Archive is in the tiniest font. Yeah, it's like tiny. They don't want you to know it's part of the title.
Yeah, I think it's like, to me it screams that they're thinking if this does well, that's the franchise name, and then we change the Raincode part. But I also think it's kind of stupid.
I feel like it wouldn't be that hard to be like Raincode : other thing though.
True, but we'll talk about it because this game, this game's very interesting.
Master Detective Archive also could have just been a good name for it. Instead of having the Raincode subtitle.
It's a very Japanese name, if that makes sense, where it's like Master Detective Archive.
I mean, this is
like
the same studio that brought us AI: the Somnium Files: Nirvana Initiative.
True, you know what?
Very true.
You right.
You think they should have? Yeah, they should just called it MDA and then Master Detective Archives underneath. You know, that's if it was Western, that's what they would call it. It'd be MDA, Master Detective Archive. That's what it'd be called.
Like DMC, Devil May Cry.
Yeah, basically, that's what it would be called.
Yeah, except the D would be suspiciously uppercase and the A and the M would be lowercase.
So anyway, the way we're gonna break this down is, because just like everything that's a Spike Chunsoft game, and obviously I know this is Tokyo Games, but Tokyo is basically the Danganronpa team, so that went away. So it's not really that far away from them. It's the same fuckers. They've just split into two companies instead of it being one, right? The problem with these games, if you ever played a Danganronpa game, if you ever played AI: The Somnium Files, if you've ever played a 999 game, you know, they're so spoiler filled, where it's like it's going to be extremely hard to talk about these without going into slight spoiler territory. So the way we're going to do this week is we're going to start with general impressions and general kind of gameplay elements, general things we can talk about. And then after a little bit, there'll be a timestamp in the description on podcast and on YouTube. We'll go into spoilers, and when I say that particularly, it'll be probably chapter 0 spoilers, which is the first chapter of the game, because it's kind of hard to convey an opinion without giving away some slight little things. So if you don't want spoilers for the first 3 hours of this game, probably skip that one section, but we'll give you the general details beforehand. Because like I said it to you, Hunter, it's going to be really hard to talk about this game, especially for half an hour, without giving away something, because there are big spoilers within the first hour. So it's kind of difficult.
I know the pain. I remember writing the story section for the Somnium Files. Writing the Somnium
look on
Files
the review code.
Yeah.
Look on the review of this.
Challenge, because, you know, they're story-based games, but it's a story you can't really talk about.
Yeah, and I think the thing is I think it would be maybe not for Nirvana Initiative, because it's very sequel territory, and it's anyone that's played AI knows AI is extremely weird. So AI is AI goes in knowing it's a sequel, knowing it's a sequel, knowing itself is a sequel. It's like it's already running on those levels where it's like we're not going to give you the couple of hours of warm up this time. We're just going to go straight ahead, start the ride at 60 and just take it and
Yeah.
build from there. And this game does have a bit of a build up, but again, there's a massive spoiler at the start of it that starts to ramp that up. And whereas AI, you can kind of probably talk about the first 2 or 3 hours of AI without ruining anything really, because AI is more of a slow burn. It's a good thing for AI, in my opinion, but
Yeah.
So, because it's like, I want to get this out of the way, and I want to know what you. I said it to you, Hunter, when describing one of the mini games, and I think this really does kind of stem from my entire opinion of this game so far. I want to state, I think it's all right. I think it's decent. I think it's a decent video game, but especially it's made by the team that made Danganronpa. It genuinely feels like Danganronpa at home, and what I mean by that is it feels like Danganronpa in all but name. Where it's like the character designs are extremely Danganronpa because it's the same fucking artist. The idea of these murders and these investigations is extremely Danganronpa in the way they do it and convey it in the terms of the mini games. They're palette swaps in regards of what you were doing in a Danganronpa game.
So, like
It
I've
screams
mentioned on the
Danganronpa.
podcast before, for these mystery games, I keep a little notebook document, and my first entry into this one, besides the today's date, was I like how they made a legally distinct Danganronpa theme when I got to the title song.
Because, that it is Danganronpa in all but name, which to me screams that when they're making this game and when in interviews they're like, we'd like to make another Danganronpa again someday. I'm like, this feels like you didn't want to make a Danganronpa and then you made one and then went, oh wait, no, we make Danganronpa. Like, it genuinely feels that way, and in a lot of ways there's some spins on this game that I like that Danganronpa doesn't have. It feels Danganronpa feels like a because it's like a high school murder, right? It's very basic stuff where it's like you've got a load. It's more interrogation, right? Where this is more crime scene investigation, where you're actually properly looking into it and trying to figure it out more. As less of a who's done it, and I mean it is a who's done it, but it is more of a
what's happening.
Overanalyze kind of scenario. And I feel like it works, and there are a lot of things where it's like, okay, not having the weird first-person perspective and the 2D cutouts works in a lot of ways. It doesn't work in a lot of ways. I feel like this game...
I think the trade-off for that is moving him around feels like his boots are made of lead.
Oh, he's got lead boots, dude. He's so slow. And it's like controls kind of feel clunky. I feel like I played the first chapter in handheld mode and it looks really bad. And I was like, I'm going to go put this on the big screen and see if it still looks bad. And it looks better in docked than it does in handheld. But man, like, I know the Switch is showing its age. It doesn't look that great.
It doesn't look any different. Like,
and I mean,
Somnium Files, for example, looks, I feel, demonstrably better than the Danganronpa games as far as when you actually see the character models and stuff.
100%.
This does not. This looks... It has the same weird kind of fuzzy silliness that goes on, like when you see everyone's faces before they drag a body out for execution,
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And it's like, I think there are times where this game looks great. And what I will say is when you actually get into the ward, when you get into the city, with the neon and the rain, it looks nice. Like, that's where I'm like, okay, that's when it looks good. When you start walking around the city and you start Kansai Ward and you start looking around it and the neon's lit up everywhere and the rain's shining down, that's when it looks great. That's when this game looks at its best. As soon as you go into an internal area, it genuinely feels like this weird mishmash of like 3D environments from AI the Somnium Files with Danganronpa shit just plopped into it like a fucking movie maker kind of project. And it's like
a weird Photoshop picture, yeah.
Well, there's part of me where it's like, it's weird because the UI is so high quality. Like there's so many like assets where it's like the art is in full 1080p and there's like one of the showdown kind of symbol. You've seen it, Hunter, with the big skull
Yeah.
and the metal everywhere. I'm like, that looks way too fucking high detailed for this video game, because then it disappears and you go back to Blurry Town. I'm like, the UI is great. The UI feels great. I love the way the menus look. Like, all the UI design in this game, I think, is great. I think it serves its purpose. It does a good job of that. But it kind of, and I don't know if this is the Switch. I don't know if in a year's time we get a port to PlayStation or to PC and this game all of a sudden looks a lot better. But at least on the Switch, it kind of looks a bit messy. And I'm just like, I've been playing for 9 hours and it still throws me off where I go into an area and I'm like, oh, this doesn't look that great. And especially, I think it's because in Danganronpa, Danganronpa's a great game for dubbing because you don't have any mouth animations. You don't have any of that because it's just cardboard cutouts. The scene ends when the voice line's done. The amount of lines in this game,
the amount of times that the mouth flaps have been out of sync. Yeah.
or they just keep going for another 5 seconds after the line's done because they've obviously got the same MOVs for the English and Japanese, and it's just like, it just kind of leaves you with these kind of, it feels kind of rough around the edges in a not too great way that I kind of don't jive with, to be honest. In terms of like the gameplay, right? So the game is basically split into, it has, like I say, it's Danganronpa at home. It very much is split into 2 categories. It is split, but instead of school life and deadly life, it is fucking murder crime investigation and pissing about in a city is basically the 2 kind of things. Whereas Danganronpa very much feels linear, right? You know, you do a crime scene on a floor, the next time round you unlock a new floor, you explore that floor, and then another murder happens exactly on that floor and you've got to figure out what's happening, right? That's basically how Danganronpa works. In this game, it's like, oh, yeah, you get like this murder investigation, but they take place in different rooms, but they're all around the city, and you can explore the city at any time, and all the cities, like all the areas of the city are like Persona environments where they're not open worlds, but they're big areas that you can run around, and there's side quests and there's rooms to enter and places to go. And it's like,
I haven't got to side quests yet, but
there are a couple, they're more like errands. They're like, I want a book, and you gotta go find the book. Right?
Okay,
It's
fetch
stuff like
quests.
that. Fetch quests.
And
it's
I don't
like,
think this game has room for side quests.
it does. It has the room. And it's like, I like the exploration. I like the way this game looks in motion, but I can't help but feel, and I don't know if you agree, Hunter, that this game feels like it has massive pacing issues. Where
yeah.
if you thought the Danganronpa had bad pacing issues, let me tell you, fucking Danganronpa looks like the original cuts of the Lord of the Rings compared to directors in terms of, you know, things cut
Danganronpa's
out.
main issue was that it got very long in the tooth at the end. This is long in the tooth from the beginning.
Oh no.
The first case literally lasts 2 hours, like 2.5 hours.
Oh my god. Yeah, I played for 4 hours today, and I got through the first chapter and then their prologue that comes after chapter 0.
Yeah, chapter 0, prologue, chapter 1. It's a Tetsuya Nomura production, basically, with the way that they've
Ethan was telling me about that last
done
night.
the chapter structure. I
My
laughed
brain was
so
trying to
hard.
understand it.
When it said chapter 0 complete, and then there was a load screen, and then a thing came up saying prologue, I fucking laughed. Like, I genuinely laughed so hard.
I was like, oh no. Because I thought,
oh, you're one of these games.
Chapter 0 implies that it's a prologue.
That's what I said.
And then I was like, okay, so I get then usually prologues are shorter than this.
It's really long. It's like 3 hours,
too.
3.5 hours. And it's like, I don't know why. Here's the thing is, I'm enjoying this game. I think when the game isn't being cringe, I'm enjoying the gameplay loop. And I mean,
spirit.
if you guys think, like, honestly,
my feelings on Danganronpa too, but to a lesser extent.
Well, here's the thing, right? The Danganronpa haters are gonna have a fucking field day with this one. Like, my god, it's like some of it is way worse than Danganronpa. Like,
yeah,
holy shit! It's like this game has a fetish and it's running with it, and I'm like, I don't know if I want this. It's like it's got to the point where, and also every line of dialogue for the most part is voiced, so it's not like Danganronpa where when you're doing the investigation, a lot of the time I'm mashing through that fucking dialogue like it's no tomorrow because I'm like, hey, this game's made for like middle schoolers, and I've got that high school reading comprehension. I'm speedrunning this shit, right? This game's like, no, you'll sit and you'll listen to all these fuckers say these lines, and I'm just like, oh hey, that's Alex Lee. Oh hey, there's Sungwon.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh cool, like
Kaji
just.
Tang is one of the guys.
Nice.
But most of the time, I'm just like
Haru is
mashing.
someone.
Yeah, I'm just mashing to skip through some of this dialogue because it's fucking awful. Like there are some there's some dialogue that's really bad in this game. There's some really that's not really good. There's some dialogue that's fine, and there's some that's really bad.
Some interesting dialogue.
Like is it what's her name? Shinigami?
Shimigami.
Shimigami. The kind of basically, basically, you are a detective with amnesia. You wake up with a ghost partner who. Yep. You wake up with a ghost partner who is extremely horny, and then you find a note in your pocket that says, get on the train. You get on the train, shit goes down, you have to solve a case on the train, and off you go, because basically you're going to, is it Shinsai Ward? Is that what it's called?
Kansai Ward.
Kansai Ward. It's Kansai Ward, isn't it?
Kansai Ward.
You're going to a place called Kansai Ward, which is a place in this world where a load of mysteries are happening, and you are basically master detectives, and you have to go and solve these. A load of master detectives have been sent on a mission to go to Kansai Ward because it's basically under Shinra's control. There you go. We're gonna call it Shinra because it's basically Shinra. It's the same fucking thing.
Evil corporations.
FF7
Shinra,
collab.
Yeah,
Apple,
basically.
Amazon, etc.
And it's like
Twitter.
Here's the thing, right? Is I don't mind the main character.
I like him more than I like Makoto, to be fair. So
yeah,
thumbs up for that.
I don't
like
hate
that his
him.
Stupid antenna hair is a little question mark. It's a fun spin on their
he's got
obsession with that design.
He's got the stupid kind of core flick. He has got a stupid rain hat that when he gets.
I really don't like his bucket hat.
Yeah, his bucket
hat is better than his
now.
hideous bowl cut.
It is.
Yeah, but two wrongs don't make a right, Hunter.
Double negative, Kyle. It evens out.
No.
But yeah, so
a negative plus a negative, you're just
Cocoa
more negative.
Head, yeah. Well, he is called Cocoa Head, dude. He is called. Yeah, he's So yeah, but no, I don't mind him. I hate the fucking ghost. I genuinely despise the ghost. So, like when people say that they hate Morgana, I now understand what they mean when they say they hate Morgana. Yeah. I hate this sidekick character. She's annoying as shit. The only thing she ever does is tell the worst jokes, make some fucking horny statement, or make some meta reference. Those are the only three things she does in this entire fucking video game, and I don't know which one annoys me the most. Like, at first I was like, oh, that's a nice little
really
touch. But
funny because, you know, Tama in Nirvana Initiative wasn't that different, but she was also written much better, and also her partner wasn't 14. It made the whole hyperactive libido thing less.
I want to write this on the record, by the way, because obviously I didn't play Nirvana Initiative when it came out, so I didn't do the first impression on that. I didn't really talk about Nirvana Initiative that much on the podcast. I do want to state I fucking hated Tana in Nirvana Initiative as well. I did not like that character. So when you give me that character fucking again, but worse, I'm like, this is a problem for me. Like, it's basically BDSM Ghost, the video game character, and I'm like. Like I say, she just makes references and shit like that all the time. Within the first 30 minutes, there's a reference to Danganronpa, and I'm like, oh, that's cute. And then they make a reference to Persona 4, and then they make a reference to something else. And there's just so many fucking references where I'm just like, please stop. Please stop. And then, she calls him a simp at one point, and then...
I haven't got that yet.
And then Cocoa Head says...
So the game's not allowed to be played on Twitch.
Yeah, so she says simp, and then Cocoa Head says... Why do you keep calling me that? That's the first time I heard her call her simp. So she might continue saying simp in the rest of the game. I don't mind them saying simp. It's an extremely cringy character, and all of her lines I just don't like. I really don't like this character.
It's a shame,
and she's
too.
the character I'm
design.
stuck with. Their design's fine. Her design
it's like this
is
weird
fine.
mash of Kyoko and Junko almost.
Yeah, 100%. I prefer a little ghost form though, to be honest. I think the ghost form with the personality is really funny. There's some really cute things. Like, for example, the ghost will start doing stuff. So like she'll make a really cringe reference. Like you're going down this, you haven't done this bit, Hunter, because it's in chapter 1, but you're going down this corridor, and she's like, "Ooh, this is creepy. It's like out of a horror film. Don't I wonder where the jump scare is?" And then as you're walking past, it's not a jump scare, but you just see her like phase through the wall and do like a weird like kind of movement, and it's just like
Oh, yeah.
cute stuff like that. You go to a cafe and she's like, finally a break, and as you're walking around, she just goes and sits at a fucking chair and has a fake coffee or whatever, and it's like the stuff
Yeah.
like that where I'm like, the ghost has a lot of personality. I just hate when you fucking talk. Like, I genuinely hate it so much. It's so annoying. I hate it. Which is, like, it's annoying when it's the main character other than yourself, right? When you're
Yeah.
just stuck with the sidekick. Like, people who hate Teddy and Morgana, this is, like, them on crack. Like, it genuinely is.
Oh no.
Because they don't shut up. And it's like, for every one hit, there's about 25 misses, and I'm like, I can't keep doing this. Like, I got to the end of chapter 1, and every time the ghost talked, I was like, skip. I want to hear from the adults in the room, please. And by the adults, I mean the 14-year-old bucket hat kid and whoever I'm with. Thank you. Like, just keep skipping, because it's like you have these things in Danganronpa, right? You have the nerdy fucking otaku fat kid
Yeah,
that
the
I
nerdy
hate,
beaver-faced
right?
moron.
Or you have the Mekon shit in Danganronpa 2,
Oh
which
my
I
God.
also hate. You have the girl in Danganronpa 3, I can't remember what her name is,
Miu.
who is probably my favorite of all of these characters, just because she's the least
She didn't
fucking...
really bother me.
Yeah, she's just a bit of sweary and a tiny bit too horny. But other than that, like, fine. She bothered me the least. And then this character, fucking painful.
What a good bar. She
Yeah.
bothered me the least.
Put it on the box art, dude. Put it on the poster. But it's like,
Another W for Danganronpa 3.
it's always there, and it's always, the horniness has always been there in Danganronpa, and it's always been my least favorite part of the franchise, right? It's always kind of that.
Yeah.
It's the stuff people claim Xenoblade 2 is. That's what that game is.
Oh,
It's
do
like,
not get me started.
That's what Twitter thinks Xenoblade 2 is what Danganronpa actually is, right? Where it's just like, it's just...
I'm sure they've
it's-
played as much of both of those games.
Kyle, let me put it this way. When you have to basically, instead of a gun, instead of firing truth bullets, you have a truth sword, basically, in
Correct.
this game. Right?
Yeah, swords are cool.
It's a
When you get the
keyblade.
when you get the
Keyblade?
truth swords,
Yeah.
basically it is a keyblade. You stick keys into it. Yeah, truth keys.
And it becomes
you
a
stick truth
sword.
keys.
This
and
is a
it's sword.
Tetsuya Nomura game.
It is.
Well, except this is a cooler looking sword.
It is. But yeah, every time you get this fucking blade, I thought it was just the first time, she just does like this weird fucking sexual dance, and then you pull the
God, right,
fucking
that.
sword out of her throat, like, and it's just
it's like Tales of Arise, that cool scene where Alphen pulls the sword out of Shion, except one of them is a child and it's not
And it's
nearly as
horny.
good.
And it's like, what are we doing here? This is fucking weird. And it like, it's not just that. There's the barrel mini game. Basically, if you play Danganronpa, you know the mini game where it's like time to learn to spell, and it's
Hangman's Gambit.
like Hangman's Gambit, where it's like the room was locked from there, and then you have to spell inside. You know, like you have to fire the fucking letters.
The
That's what you have
third
to
time
do.
I ran across this mini game, I told Ethan, if they make me do it again, I'm sending myself into the sun.
Yeah, they'd make you do it like 5 times in the first fucking one. Like, it's so annoying.
Mate.
But instead of that, instead of shooting words, you're now shooting a pop-up pirate barrel where you're like, I don't know if you've seen the board game Pop-Up Pirate before, but it's basically like
I've
a
played
mini...
Resident Evil 4, yeah.
Well, it's different to that. But the Pop-Up Pirate minigame, like little board game, is where you have like a pirate in a pirate barrel, like in like a rum barrel, right? And
Yeah.
he's sitting in the center, and you push swords in, and eventually the final, like, you push a sword in, and he'll pop up out of the air, and that person loses. That's the board game that this is based on. This, what you do
Cool.
is you throw swords at the letters. you spell the answer from this really shitty mini game, then she pops up in the air in a swimsuit and does a sexual pose, and you fucking cry because you're sick of this shit.
Oh, right.
This is what I'm on about.
The
This
pose
is
and
why,
whatnot.
like, it's so annoying.
I remember the first thing I said when she popped up. I was like, the swimsuit's not as ridiculous as I was expecting, to be honest, but it's still, unnecessary.
And it's like, I'm not trying to sit here where I'm like, I don't want to be like boomer talk where I'm just like, but it's
This
the
is corrupting the youth.
This is no, because I don't give a shit, right? Personally, I'm not sitting there and
The
going,
youth
"This
can
is this."
burn.
I
I'm
also don't give a shit about the youth.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about the youth. I don't give a shit about this. I'm not sitting there going, "Ew, this is disgusting." I'm not down like I don't give a shit. But to me, I'm just like, "Fucking hell, is this the only card you can play?" Like this genuinely feels like I saw someone write a review.
It's
I think it was it Push Square where like one of their cons was too much fan service, and I'm 100% in the same boat where it's like I'm always going to expect that Japan will always have some kind of weird awkward fan service in their video games, and it usually affects a character I like, so thank God in this game it's a character I hate, right? But it's like the shit they did with like Anne in Persona 5 or the shit that they do with, any fucking character in a game. And I'm just like, I expect this level of something in Japan because they always do it for the most part. This is where it's just too much for me, where I'm just like, can this game have another personality trait, please? Because here's the thing, when I did the Prologue Hunter and when I was doing the exploring in the city, this game was great. Because that shit fucked off. Like, it gets put in the cupboard for a good 4 hours. And I was like, God, maybe this is just a bad first 3 hours. And then I got to the actual exploring part and you meet the other master detectives and you meet the agency. And I'm like, oh no, these characters are cool. I like these. There's some good stuff
the design
happening.
of all of them.
Yeah. And then it goes back to the gameplay again. I'm like, fucking kill me. Like, as soon as I go back to that dungeon, because it basically has this dungeon system, whereas instead of going to Trial in Danganronpa,
you go to palaces.
You go to the Persona 5 palaces, except they all look the same.
Yeah, they all look the same, but they all come from like they're like I guess they're Persona 4 dungeons then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically.
But they all come from like you cause the person who causes the unsolved mystery corrupts this other reality or whatever, and etc.
That's honestly, I think that's my opinion. Is this ghost character I don't give a shit about. I think her voice lines are annoying. I don't think it's the voice actor's fault. I don't think it's hey, if someone else voiced this character, yeah, it's definitely the material and the direction here. And it's like the actual investigation stuff I'm really liking. It's a bit overblown. It takes way too fucking long, and I feel like it's taking too many inspirations from Danganronpa to the point where if you've played Danganronpa 1 through 3, you're going to guess the first case's twist, and you are 100% going to know what happened in the second case because they are literally copied beat for beat from prior Danganronpa stuff.
I called the first case before anyone died.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. They literally,
holy shit.
Literally, they make a comment.
I've played a lot of these.
They make a comment, which we'll talk about later. But they make a comment about the train, and as soon as they made a comment about the train, I was like, I bet you it's because of this. And I was bang on the money. I was bang on right. And I'm like, I've played too much Danganronpa at this fucking point, because you just get it instantly. But it's like the actual investigation stuff I think is cool. I like the crime scene investigation, kind of figuring it out. I enjoy the characters that aren't the fucking ghost. Everybody else is pretty cool. I like the interactions that you're having. I like the general story of it. I like the world of it. I just don't like these Mystery Palace gameplay bollocksing sections that are Danganronpa, but worse.
The Mystery Labyrinth is... It feels unnecessarily padded, too, because...
Like, you have to... It's like, imagine...
80% of what you're doing is running.
Yeah. I mean, Kyle, you've seen bits of gameplay.
Rooms.
Imagine if it was a Danganronpa trial, but between each section you had to run a fucking marathon in between, and nothing happens in the gameplay. It's just running in a straight line.
It's just them recycling the bits of the hallway.
Because
Like,
everything
there's-
else
exciting.
is
It doesn't have
literally
much purpose.
everything else is just Danganronpa, and I'm not saying that just kind of that's not like hyperbole. It is literally instead of the it's basically your argument sections instead of being you with a cursor and a gun is you standing there as a big guy shout shit at you and then you swipe it with the sword instead. That's basically that.
Slightly more interactivity.
Hangman's
since
Gambit
you
is
have to
pop-up
move.
pirate, horny pop-up pirate, you know? Same shit. In fact, I think the version of this closing these arguments, Hunter, these is worse because
Why
they
are the
take longer
pictures
to
so
get
tiny?
through. Yeah. They basically
The
nicked
pictures on
closing
the side are
arguments.
so
Yeah,
small.
they nicked a closing argument from Danganronpa, but they made it worse because not only are this, I think, the thing about I do hate it about closing argument. There'll be some photos that are very similar, and you'll put the wrong one in, and it's like you dumbass, it's the other one. You're like, for fuck's sake, like there's at least a bit of challenge here. These ones are obvious, and then also, if you've played Danganronpa, you'll know the main protagonist will be like, "Here's what happened in this case," and then you go through it, and it plays the Danganronpa theme as you're explaining it, and it takes roughly about 90 seconds. This game, fucking
Like
hell,
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Like genuinely, like they take something that's like supposed to take like 90 seconds and it times it by 4, and I'm like, this is stupid. I hate it here. Make it stop. Like I'm just not having fun. It's just it's very weird because I guess before we get into spoilers, it's like there are things I really like. I think, like I say, I think the design of the city, the way that looks is really nice. I like a lot of the way that the characters look. I like 90% of the voice acting in this game. I think that's also good. The music is fucking great. I like the music a lot. It is genuinely...
It is.
like,
it feels very Danganronpa-like, but it's not a bad thing.
It is, but
still
it isn't.
feels, yeah. Like,
Like,
I could tell
instantly-
you the difference.
Like the rain code, when I got on the menu, I was like, "Ooh, this is like this does feel Danganronpa just from the music because the main rain code theme very much takes inspiration from it." And a lot of the music, it's not as despairy as Danganronpa, where it's like I feel like Danganronpa has this kind of, even though it's upbeat a lot of the time, the music, I feel like it does have this kind of drear to it, where it's like the hope kind like. I hate taking the hope and despair because it's a load of bullshit in Danganronpa, right? But it's kind of like, it feels like the hope is kind of seeping away from you when you're listening to the music because it does kind of have this kind of, not necessarily creepiness to it, but it's like this kind of eerie feeling underneath it, like this unease, and that I like. And this game, it has that kind of mystery to it, but it does feel kind of more mysterious and composed to...
Yeah, more mysterious as opposed to just depressing.
Depressing, yeah. But I love the music. I love the way the game's... There's, like I say, the UI, the art design is fantastic. I think that all the designs are pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's just... It's very much Danganronpa, and in some ways, it does it worse. And I think that's the main problem. Is... It's fine. Like, what's the game got on an OpenCritic at the moment?
78.
I think that's a fair score.
So far, I could agree. Yeah, it's fine.
The story's interesting. The characters, for the most part, are interesting. But, like, there are some Danganronpa-isms that are turned up, like the horniness and the kind of... It's very in on itself. It's very kind of...
It's like every Danganronpa game ends with a very self-indulgent final chapter, and this just seems...
I'm scared for this. I'm genuinely scared for that.
I'm going to be like, hurrah, final chapter, almost at the end. And then I'm going to be aged. I am going to become a skeleton before your eyes while I finish it.
Yeah. I guess... Right, so that here's my thing, right? If you're into these games, though, I still think you'll like it. I think you'll like it.
If you're into these, I don't think there's any deal breakers here yet.
Unless
except
you
for
are
maybe
the,
that Ghost Trick just came out the same day and is half the price.
Yeah.
I went to the eShop and I saw that and I'm like, I'm really about to buy the more expensive one that's probably isn't as good, aren't I?
Yeah, probably. And I mean, if you are somebody that doesn't like the kind of horniness of Danganronpa, or even like the kind of torture fetish that game has, where in a way where it's like, hey guys, we're gonna make the most gruesome shit and just paint it pink, and then just, you know, have a bear show up and be like, hey, like, you know, like it's just like, if you don't like that, you're not gonna like it here, because the gruesome deaths are still here. They do paint them pink like in Danganronpa, which again doesn't help it have a unique identity. I remember in the first case, there's a bit where your character cuts themselves and the blood's red, and I was like, oh,
I was like, oh.
I was like, oh, is the blood red in this game? No, literally in the next case when there's actual blood on the crime scenes, it's all pink, and I'm like, oh. I thought that I was like, okay, it's Danganronpa. My review is it's Danganronpa, but I think so far I would like Danganronpa more. I think that's my impression of it.
Yeah, which is accurate to how I feel so far.
And if you want to know why, you see, we said we couldn't make this last an hour. It's fucking 41 minutes.
Oh yeah, look at this. We got juice. I've got a whole page of notes.
Oh yeah, if you want to hear us, if you want to, yeah. I feel like a lot of our criticism. I feel like a lot of
other topics.
I feel like a lot of our criticisms have been kind of, again, they've been generalizations because we can't go into too many specifics because there are spoilers. So if you want to hear why we have some of these opinions, might be a good chance now. So we'll talk about Chapter 0, talk about the prologue, and then I'll probably mention some general things about Chapter 1, which won't spoil because Hunter hasn't played it, but there are some generalized things that after you know the context of Chapter 0, I can then say change in Chapter 1 and how that might be for the better and how it might be for the worse.
All right.
So shall we talk about, again, this is a pretty big spoiler. It's not, I'm not saying slight spoilers, like this isn't a, you know, and like, then a big dinosaur
knowing this
comes
going
out.
in would make your first 3 hours of this game very pointless.
Even more miserable. Yeah. So, okay. Are you gone? Have you skipped to the future where I don't know what we're doing in the future?
Oh shit, cool. I need to leave.
Oh yeah, you better go, Kyle. You don't want to get So basically, this game does a Danganronpa where it likes to pull a bait and switch in the first hour, basically. So you get on this train and you're introduced to 5 master detectives, and they're all on the box art.
Yeah.
And then it basically is like, hey, here, do the Danganronpa introductions, where you have this Danganronpa introductions. You have 40 minutes of fucking talking, basically, where you're just talking with all these characters.
How is it that long with half the people?
Yeah.
A third of the people.
Yeah, it's crazy. So anyway, you have this whole talking conversation, and then you feel a bit ill, so you go to the bathroom and you pass out, and then you wake up, and then all of them are dead. And that's the first case you have to solve, is why the fuck have all 5 of these people been burnt alive on this train. And from a Danganronpa point of view, I was like, I suspected this would happen, but I was also like, I was into it. I loved the idea of literally having 5 characters on the box art as an integral part of this game, and then kill them off instantly. I was like, that.
For a decent chunk of this part, I was under the impression that there was going to be some kind of haha gotcha.
Oh, there was a part where I thought it was a test, where they were testing him, where they were like, hey, this is a test.
But then I parked that to the side at some point.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, nah, they're sticking to it too much here.
Yeah, and it's like, it very much is, if you've ever played Danganronpa, it is very much, again, the whole case, I won't ruin what the solution is to the case, right? But it very much is in that playbook. And the one thing I will say is, well, the thing that they mentioned, because I'll mention it now, is the thing that I instantly figured out what was happening instantly was someone says, there's 5 cabins on this train. Everyone's like, there's 5 cabins on this train, and we're on cabin 2. And it's like, yeah, we've explored cabins 1 through 4. We can't get into cabin 5. The door's jammed. And I was like, got you. There's no cabin 5. We're on a 4 train. Like, I was instantly like, that's the thing is because they show you a map of where you're going, and they show that there's like this tunnel and there's an outside loop.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, so that's what's gonna happen, is at some point the murder's gonna happen, and the train at the back is gonna detach and go and switch and become car 5. And that was the puzzle, and that was the thing. And I was like,
aside from that, I called the culprit before anyone died.
Oh,
Just
yeah,
kind of off. Yeah,
you know
I
when it
was like,
asks you to blame who do you think it is, and it asks you, and it like you can choose them. I
yeah.
chose the right person. Yeah, like, but it
See,
was like it was interesting. It was just very long winded. It just kept going forever and
yeah,
ever.
it just kept happening.
But it was like
Oh,
it was a cool. Like I said, it's a cool idea, especially because there were some characters there. Like you know, I guess the best comparison I can make it is like the new Suicide Squad film, but it's like you know everybody in the new Suicide. If you've seen the new Suicide Squad film, the James Gunn one, it's not even that new. It's like 2021, right? The way that film starts is you have a Suicide Squad, and then James Gunn basically kills off all of them, bar like two, as if to be like, look, nobody's safe. And what he really means by that is he chucked like 8 throwaway characters in and one from the last film and killed all of them off and went, look, the one from the last film that was he also died. Anyone can die. And it's like, yeah, whatever, James Gunn, fucking move on, right? Like, good job,
yeah.
right? But these 5 characters, except for the one that actually fucking did it, I was like, I could have theoretically have seen them staying around, right? They didn't feel like I wasn't sitting there going, yeah, you've just chucked them in to kill them off instantly.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, like the one guy who's all aggro, but then, actually started talking sensible at some points there. I was like, I could see him actually dealing with some kind of arc.
the girl with the hearing who acts very
Yeah,
like robotic,
robotic.
I was like, I can see you being a late game death to make people feel bad. Like
Yeah,
that's what I was
because
like, yeah,
that's the
yeah.
kind of person that I could imagine people getting attached to and then being like, oh, this makes me sad.
Yeah, they had personalities and interesting traits where I was like, yeah, fair enough. Um but again, it's like you're sitting there and it's like if you've played these games before, you already know what the plot twist is when it's or before, like you say, you figure it out before it fucking happens, right? And it's like
Yeah.
it's not just you're sitting there and it's like, the first case in Danganronpa 1, everybody figures that out, or you're fucking. That's like the IQ test
Yeah.
of like if you don't figure this out beforehand, like you're fucking dumb. Like it
Yeah,
spells it
you're
out to you literally.
literally.
And I feel like this game, it has a more complicated first case than Danganronpa, but it's the fact that the game is sitting there and just spelling it out to you, and I think that's kind of what sucks is when you get into it later, right? The first one, you're like, oh, these people that I've just known have all died. Who's the culprit? When you get into it later, obviously, this game then, when you get to the prologue and get to the HQ, and there's basically these 5 people who are the actual main characters of this game.
Dude, I got to when it got to the sub and whatnot there, I was like, literally in my notes, I'm like, I can't wait for these people to have the exact same power set.
They don't, thankfully.
Luckily.
But, it's not like Danganronpa, because I think what Danganronpa does great is you meet everybody at the start, people start dying, and you kind of start going, okay, where are we, like, psychologically, mentally, I know these
Who's
people, who's the
expendable?
fucking, who's expendable, and who killed the fucker, right? It's like, that's
Yeah.
what's fun about this game. And what isn't fun is in this first scene, you get absolutely zero attachment to anybody, really. They're all interesting characters, but you don't really get anything worth a damn. So when they die, you're like, oh, that kind of sucks, but you figured out who did it because you can easily work it out and you don't care.
Yeah.
But then when you get into the actual cases, because they're the they're the actual detectives or whatever, the people who are dying are random fuckers, and the people who are the criminals are random people. So there's no attachment to these people. So it's just a very clinical kind of, oh, that murder's kind of gruesome. I wonder who did it out of Timmy, Billy, Johnny, or Sam. Who did it? And it's like,
Hmm.
you're never going to see, even if Jimmy didn't do it, you're never going to see Jimmy again after this point because he's just there to point fingers in this case. There's no stakes here, You're not
So
looking at it and going,
that's
okay, who
that's
killed my friend?
fascinating. So that's in a way more like Ace Attorney,
Yeah.
because in Ace Attorney, you got your clients that you come to the defense of. Well, and while half the time it ends up being your sidekick, the other half of the time it's like, oh, these are innocent people, we gotta help and whatnot. And you've got
Yeah.
criminals that and they do a decent enough job during all of that to make you make you dislike the bad guys and root for the defense of the clients and whatnot. But, given that Danganronpa, in my own opinion, has always been underneath of Ace Attorney as far as good writing and whatnot goes, it does not shock me to see that they do not do that part as good in this game, or to hear, I should say.
They don't. I'll tell you this, Hunter. It's not a spoiler. There's literally a point. You go to the crime scene, you do the first thing, and then your little assistant, because I think the way that this game's going to work is, for each case, you get put with a different one of them.
Of the buddies.
Yeah. So you're sitting there with your buddy, and then the buddy's like, okay, we need to go to this place because we have to, because the game dictates it. And then you go there, and then you talk to 4 people, and then your buddy just goes, remember their faces, it's fucking one of them, and then walks away. So you're just given these random strangers, and it's like, yeah, one of them fucking did it. There you go. Fucking figure it out. And they don't get, there's no real, they don't have interesting personalities or anything like that, really. They're just all generic people, and I think that's my main problem. My other main problem is, compared to Danganronpa...
problem.
The other problem with Danganronpa is, and I feel like this is why I like Persona 5, right? Is when you change someone's heart, when you go into the thing and you solve the puzzle, whatever, you change someone, there's the repercussions to their actions, right? Then you change their heart, is it good or bad? You have this person live with it. In this game, basically, Kyle, you solve the dungeon, that then your little annoying ghost friend just fucking kills the person that did it. They just kill. So, and in the first one, it's just it's kind of interesting because you're being framed, right? You're being framed for it, and then the guy comes around going, "Oh yeah, the guy that actually did it just fucking killed himself." And then they're like, "Oh, I guess we won't kill you now then, because there's no point." And they just walk off. This one, it literally is a who done it? Who fucking cares? Because as soon as you solved it, they die anyway, and nothing happens. And it's it's the least satisfying thing to have a murder mystery, and you don't even get to point at the person and go, "It was you," and then they go, "No," and they get dragged away, and they go to... No, they just fucking die. And I'm like, that's so unsat. Not even to the point of you going, "It was you." Death. It is literally because you freeze time and go into the place before you've revealed who it is. So you literally, in their timeline, walk into the thing, solve the puzzle, and you walk out. They just fucking drop dead with no fucking explanation. There's no explanation.
My only thing there is that if his whole contract gets if his whole contract thing gets brought to light somehow, that could present an interesting conflict with the rest of them, but who knows if they'll even explore that.
Who knows if they explore that? I do, and imagine if it had some stupid gimmick as well attached to it, where it doesn't matter anyway. I wouldn't know.
You get to play Chutes and Ladders now.
You don't get to play Chutes and Ladders.
Damn. I was really hoping.
They did introduce a couple more mini games in the second dungeon, but they're all equivalents of the same fucking what's the truth, what's the lie. No, kind of, but it's instead, here's a quick time event, but you just press the correct statement as the answer. Shit like that.
Oh, like a little rubble hopping thing at the towards the end.
But it was again, I was enjoying the case. There's 5 crime scenes to look at in the first case. I'm there's a lot of stuff here to actually look at, and it's interesting. And you solve them all, and you're like, oh, that's cool. But then it's so unsatisfying to get to the end of it and go, "It was you." And then you're the worst character in the video game goes, "And now I'm going to remove them from existence," and then kills them. And then it's just because I'm how does that resolve anything? Because you've not proved anything. In the world, you've not proved, they just drop dead. And then the game just shrugs it off and walks away and goes, "Good job, guys."
It's like if Somnium Files were to just kill people after you do the Somnium. Which would actually be a little more interesting in their case, because at least then they'd be not always people you need to die.
It's just stuff like that where I'm again, I am enjoying the game. There's some interesting stuff about it, but it's just some of the rules of this world and some of the way that it works. I'm just this is fucking lame, and it's not interesting to me. Because it's the whole idea is, oh, these people, they're not they're not solving mysteries. They're just passing the blame on to somebody else because this evil corporation's evil. And it's like, so what we're going to do is we're going to find out who the actual culprit is. Then we're going to go into Persona 5 land, beat the shit out of them, and then kill them. And then there's no repercussions because they're dead instantly. And then the evil corporation just like, what's the evil corporation just like, fuck, the people that actually did it who we're working with died. I guess we'll just shrug and walk away. Is that the logic? Like,
I don't know. Like,
because if I was
Evil
evil corporation
corporation's not
and you've
really
got the
gonna
person
care.
who just did, and the person that just did
Buy
it
another
drops
one.
dead, you can go, oh, cool. The actual person that's done it has dropped dead. We still have the person who we're blaming for it over there, so we can still blame it for them. And now we can take you down too. They don't lose. Why does this count as a victory state? Like, why is this a victory state in a video game? It doesn't feel like it. It's
it is
dumb.
weird. I don't get it.
It's just bizarre, right? Where it's like, your reward for Danganronpa, whether you like it or not, sometimes it might not be a reward because you might like the character, right? Is the person gets
Yeah.
punished and you deal with the repercussions.
Ugh.
This game's like, yeah, the person who does it gets punished in the most boring way ever, where she does like this fucking Sailor Moon death destruction thing.
Okay, so I was wondering, because I've only seen one of them, does it change?
No. The
Does
only
it?
thing that
I was
changes is
hoping
the
that it would like change up a little bit, like the
the only thing
executions
that
in
changes is
Danganronpa.
the final 5 seconds where you see the person that enters the nuke, the shadow of the person that enters the fucking nuke.
Well, that's not what I was hoping for. I was hoping
Also,
for, like,
if you're wondering, yes, the transformation Sailor Moon thing at the start is also the exact same animation every time as well. From the looks
I
of
was
it.
expecting that to carry over, but I was hoping that maybe she would kill them. And I guess that would, killing them
You
in a
thought
way
it would be a
that
bit
would
like
more
Danganronpa,
thematic.
right?
It would
Yeah.
be required to have them have more of a personality.
Which you think they could do, right? Because it's like, first person burns all of the people to death, right?
Yeah.
So she can burn them to death in a Danganronpa kind of get what you fucking
Yeah,
get what you pay
get
for.
what you pay for.
The second one, obviously, you've seen the chapter name is about the nail man or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, like
So-
crucify him or something.
Yeah,
I
a
don't
lot
know.
of people have got their dead bodies are like been hammered into places with nails. Hammer the
Sick.
fucker in with nails. No, just
Yeah,
every
make
single
him a
time, just
nail and
nuke him.
hammer him into a wall.
Every
I don't know.
every time she
Just
just gets a
seems
20
silly.
she just gets a 20 kill streak in COD and fucking launches the nuke and they just die. And then obviously you don't see the death in the first chapter because he was hiding in the train. So the guy just dies, right? And he's behind this and you're just like the guy dropped dead. So you didn't really understand what happened when you walked out, right, in chapter 0 because you're like, did he die straight away? Did he die like what just happened?
Because
Literally-
time just resumed and
Literally in
Yuma
chapter 1,
panicked.
the 4 people who it could potentially be are all standing next to you. So you see exactly what happens as soon as you leave. And it is literally just like plop. And it's just like
that's
literally
kinda
is
funny.
they just drop to the ground. I'm like,
Oh my god.
so nothing. Like just nothing, and it's so dumb, and it's like it's a shame because I like these characters, I like the city area, I like the idea of this being like, hey, we've got to solve these mysteries that this corporation are trying to hide to try and reclaim the city back. I like this idea. It just does it in such a stupid way with no satisfying conclusion. Where it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, congratulations, you solved the murder mystery, and now the person that did it's dead. Good
Yeah,
job.
And like, I don't know. And there was the whole thing with the way that a combination of the pacing issues and the fact that every character, barring yourself and the ghost in the chapter 0, are all dead. It makes me feel like it was a lot of fat that could have just been cut off of the thing. Like, I feel like I probably wouldn't lose anything if it was just being introduced to the people that I just talked to in doing this first case.
Maybe.
Like, because no one I talked to in this train served much of a purpose. Even the person who did it immediately expired, so
But that's the thing.
that
Is
didn't
you're doing
matter
this
either.
case, you do this first case, and you're like, okay, the people that did it have expired. We've learned very little here. And then you look at like,
that's the other thing that I'm seeing as a bit of a problem is that, yeah, evil corporation, evil, cool. It feels like there's less of a hook in the overarching thing
Oh,
for me.
100%, you know?
Because
In
in Danganronpa, it was this mystery of whatever
the
place you're at.
13th student. Yeah, the
Yeah.
13th student.
Mukuro
And
Ikusaba, the
yeah,
13th
and who's the
student,
traitor and
lurks
all
under
that
the school.
jazz. Yeah.
Yeah, and all of that.
Whereas this game's like, there's the big mystery. It's literally called like the big mystery.
The
And
world
it's like,
mystery.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like there's the big world mystery, and I was like, okay, so you're probably gonna learn little bits and pieces, like little clues, each time you do one of these mysteries. You do this now, guy, you fucking learn nothing. You literally learn nothing. And it's just like, good day at the office, guys. We solved a mystery by the people just dropping dead. We walked
And,
away
like-
with zero repercussions. It didn't feel satisfying at all, and we learned nothing. Good day at the office, everybody. Be back tomorrow for the same shit. Like,
Can't wait for
and,
the
like-
lore dump at the end of the game.
Even though in like Danganronpa, at least the way it happens, technically, all the murders and solving that is largely wheel spinning because it's people who just snap and lose control and doesn't actually serve the overarching what was going on, but also that's more justified because they snap and lose control because there's only 15 of you around and whatnot. And then you typically learn something about the overarching story at the end of that chapter, or like every time you finish a Somnium Files, or a Route in Somnium Files, even it's like in service of the overall narrative. And
that's my thing, right? It's like it's Danganronpa to its core. There's some good features, there's some good ideas, but in my head, if you're looking for something like Danganronpa and you haven't played Danganronpa, go just fucking play Danganronpa. You literally don't gain anything from playing this instead of Danganronpa. If you're looking for something like Danganronpa that has a quirky personality and has more murder mysteries for you to solve, go and play AI the Somnium Files, because that is an extension of this genre, which I think is very
better.
unique, and I like it a lot. This game, to me, the only audience that this game satisfies to me is people who have played AI the Somnium Files and have played Danganronpa and have ran out of stuff to play, and now here you go, here's a game that's not as good as any of them, really. Because here's the thing is, there's some interesting mysteries, but here's the thing. First mystery, again, if you've played any of these games, you'll solve it. Second mystery, you'll also solve, because it is textbook. It is textbook. The idea of this mystery appears in the first Danganronpa again. So it's like, if you've played the first Danganronpa game, you can kind of understand where they're going from. Because there's only so many kinds of murder mystery plots you can make, really. So it's like, I'm not going to say what the kind of thing it is, but it's very cliche. But it's like, once you know what it is and you know what this team has done before, it's very easily to figure it out why. And it does such a shit job where it's like, hey guys, look, here are these 4 fuckers. We're just going to go through a process of elimination. There's no thing where it's like, aha, we got you because of this. It's just this eliminates one person and this eliminates another. And here's a little twist that really doesn't mean fucking anything. And it's just like, well, there you go. It's more just, and here's the thing, right? Is I'm just looking at the reviews right now, right? And it's like a lot of people, excluding a slow and sometimes laboured pace and only occasionally intriguing exploration, Master of Detectives Archives Raincoat is a great mix of visual novel. 8.4 with that first fucking sentence, guys. I mean, what the fuck? If someone said to me, hey guys, this game's fine except for its really slow pacing and its shit exploration, I'm like, what am I playing for then?
Nah.
The story, theoretically, in a
That's
visual novel. But I
and
guess that's the slow
thing.
pacing issue, so never mind.
That's the thing, is it's a slow burn, and some of the dialogue's fucking horrendous. The main ghost is annoying as shit. And it's like I say, I think, I don't know, I don't remember who it was. It can't have been pushed. It was press start. That's who it was. It wasn't push square. It was press start. I think. I'm going to double check that review. But whoever wrote this review, and was it you? No, it wasn't you. Who the I can't find who said it.
I haven't made my review yet. Don't worry.
But whoever said Yeah, Switch performance issues, you expect that. Predictable plots, you know. Repeated use of some music as a negative. The mystery
What?
labyrinth is ingenious. Who the fuck do you think you are, bro?
It recycles its own hallways.
James Mitchell, what the fuck? I'm sure you did a great job. The review's really good, but my god, I do not agree with your opinion on that bit.
You
But,
don't.
you know,
You don't even actually navigate the labyrinth.
you
Everything
don't.
is
It's a
on
straight
rails.
fucking line.
Like I was
It's
expecting it to be like, you know, they have the one where it's like, oh, she forces you to go down the fork in the road that's wrong that turns out to be right later, and I was like, I was gonna select that one anyway.
Yeah, Nintendo Life has got the right idea here, where it's like, hey, you know, Kansai's an interesting city. The music and voice acting for the most part's great. Cons, mystery labyrinths can be repetitive and dull, and I 100% agree with that. Which, when that's the main core of your video game, it's a bit of a problem. Again, I don't know if it's just because from Spike, I kind of expect, not necessarily brilliance, but I usually expect
More.
something. I expect more.
To be kept on your toes a little bit.
Especially from going, this is like I say, the team that, like Tokyo Games, is a team that was established out of a lot of the creative figures behind Danganronpa. And it's like
so this is funny
they
because
took the mechanics.
it didn't even do the thing where I get in my own head so much that I overcomplicated the solution. I just understood the solution straight away because I've done that before where I've taken an Ace Attorney case and been like I've done like 3 more steps on top of what the actual answer was, and I was like, I've made a mistake here.
I went too far.
But it's like there's not enough information to even go through those rabbit holes, because it is just like, hey, here's a body, figure it out. Here's another body, figure it out. And it's just like, it's fine. I'm hoping there's some more interesting stuff later in the game. I'm hoping that by the time we get this next case, usually chapter 2s in Danganronpa games are the best chapters, so I'm hoping that even though chapter 1 is technically the second one, I'm hoping that the actually named chapter 2 is the best chapter in this game.
Alternatively, chapter 3 in Danganronpa is usually one of the worst.
No fucking hell. Either way.
You hear that, Ethan? It goes down from here.
I hope not. I'm hoping that I hope they're going by the actual numbers, Kyle, and chapter 2, which is technically chapter 3, will actually be good. Who knows? We'll have to see. But yeah, it's fine. It's fine. That's all I can say. It's like I'm having a good enough time. I'm sitting there. The Switch controller sucks. My thumb has started to hurt. Like I feel like I've got a bit of a bruise from fucking mashing the A button. But you know,
how hard are you pressing the button? Like
when you're trying to skip through the text, you're pressing it pretty fucking
leisurely
hard.
pace.
I'm like, get the fuck out of my, get out.
This man's speed reading.
Yep, or I'm.
This is why he doesn't remember character names. Everybody.
Yeah, I can actually tell you that other than Coco Head, because his stupid fucking last name, I cannot remember anything.
The one person. Well,
yeah,
their last names are
the one.
Their last names are pretty distinctive. Like one guy's last name is Thunderbolt, the other one's Nightmare.
Dude, there is literally the bad guy has literally got a name like Demon Grin or something. Like it literally is just like. I don't think that is. He literally has just. Baddie McBadface is basically his name.
There was the guy at the end of the train ride.
Halara Nightmare.
Yeah, Halara Nightmare. There she is.
Halara Nightmare as a character. Yeah.
Voiced by Amber Lee Connors.
Yeah.
You go, Queen.
What was it? The guy who apprehends you when you get off the train. His name is Swank. And I'm like, of course he is, and his whole thing was obsessed with money.
Yeah, it's just like. It's just so weird. Again, when the big bad guy comes out at the end of chapter 1 and he's got like his right hand like lady or whatever, and then all he makes is horny remarks towards her as well, and I'm like, fucking hell. Yeah. I'm like, again, I'm just like, I'm getting boomer. I'm becoming a boomer, dude. I'm becoming a boomer. But But instead of being like, this insults me, it's just fucking dull. I'm just like, boring, snooze. Can we get to some interesting thing? Like, come on.
Yeah. People drooling over one another is not interesting.
Yeah, it isn't. It's just, yeah. It's weird, right? I also think, I know we've been going on long enough, but I also think, the whole of the first case was everybody was burnt in the exact same fucking way. And because, in Danganronpa, most of the time, if there's a multi-kill, it's like, there's some kind of interesting thing where they're in two completely different places, or there's something where it's like, there's differences between them, and that's how you kind of figure out the fuck up, right? Where it's like, okay, this is
Well, I mean, that was present here because...
It was, but it's just like, everybody's burnt. This person's like, there's like a bit of a switcheroo, but it's like everybody you walk to is just the exact same. It's just like, burnt.
Yeah, everyone
Okay,
was
there's a
burnt.
feature.
The difference was like the one was burnt more.
Yeah, exactly. And then this next case, when you go and see all the bodies in this next case, it's the exact same shit where it's like, they're all in the same way. And it's like, but this one,
Everyone was stabbed.
is slightly,
this
yeah.
one was stabbed twice.
Genuinely, it's like, this one was stabbed a little different. And I'm like, it just loses some of that personality a bit, where it's like, Danganronpa, it was always like, oh god, who's it going to be and how fucked up is it going to be? Whereas this time it's like, hey, have you heard of the Nail Man? He nails people. And then you go in and you go,
do you know Mike the murderer?
Yeah, do you know Mike? He murders people. And then you walk into a room and you go, that truly is somebody who's been murdered by Mike. And then they go, wait, do you want to go and see the other 4 people murdered by Mike? And then you go,
Halloween very
and
quickly.
and then you walk over and you're like, oh yeah, those 4 people sure were murdered by Mike, but Mike cut a different plot this time. Classic Mike. And then you just walk
Classic
away.
Mike.
Classic Mike.
He just really wants to stab people.
And then it's like,
Is that
and then
so
it's- yeah.
wrong?
And then it's like, and who is the murderer? Is it Phil? Is it Terry? Or the guy that refuses to give his name but says he's definitely not Mike? Who is it? Which one is it? Can you figure it out?
Is it Michael?
Yeah. Is it?
It's pronounced Mikhail.
Yeah.
And I think we just made an Ace Attorney character. Good job,
There
team.
you go. Well done, everybody.
Hmm.
It is
Mike the
Mikhail.
murderer.
Like I say,
Sorry, Mikhail the murderer.
Mikhail the murderer.
Scalera Jones, the forever culprit of Somnium Files.
Hell yeah, bro.
That's who I refer to the culprit as when I don't want to say spoilers to people.
But yeah, like, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I know it feels like we've been extremely negative, but it's still like one of those things where it's like, if I had to give a review, it'd be a 7 probably.
Yeah.
If it stays the same though, I might drop it down to a 6. This would be, obviously I need to finish the game and Hunter's reviewing it, so I mean fucking nothing when it comes to this in terms of official score. But I'd currently put it at a 4 on our scale, but if it kept at the same rate that it is now, it would drop to a 3 in a fucking heartbeat. Like, it's like,
Yeah,
it
that's
needs to
the
do
thing, is
something
like-
to keep it at a 4 right
So
now.
like every game I feel like comes with its own kind of curve in a way.
Yeah.
And this one's like, is there something, if it gives me something about it that I could be like, okay, if there's something specific here that you like, I could maybe direct you towards this before I direct you towards this or Danganronpa or Phoenix Wright. And if it shows me something present there, then it'd be like this. If I'm recommending this last, except for I don't know, what's the other one? Zero Escape, because I haven't played it yet. Then that's maybe not the best sign in the world.
I think, yeah, it does a lot of things. I just don't think it does it any better than its predecessors.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a shame. And I don't think that the answer is just go back to Danganronpa, but if there's a choice here of we're just going to make Danganronpa at home or make Danganronpa, go make Danganronpa. That's my thing, is if you want to take this and do what the 999 team did with the Somnium Files, where it's like you can tell that there's that DNA between Virtue's Last Reward, Zero Time Dilemma, 999, and AI the Somnium Files, but they definitely went in a different direction. This is literally just fucking slapping purple paint over Danganronpa. Like, this
It's
is
like the reverse if you think about it, because a lot of, Somnium Files is like, what if we gave the concepts of 999 a personality, right?
yeah.
And this is like if you took Danganronpa and stripped away a lot of the personality.
But kept the horniness. Like, it's like people liked a lot of the personality in Danganronpa except the horniness. Let's keep that and take the stuff they liked away. And it's just like Japan, we don't need a character that just sits there going, "Ooh, I'm horny." Like, we don't need that. Like, we don't need that in life.
Not enough
I
of
don't need
those.
that in life. We've got enough of those. Thank you.
Your
Like,
audience
come
will
on.
do it for you. You don't need to
Exactly.
make one.
You
Yeah.
don't need to. And it's just weird, especially when you have your main character and you're like, we're going to
He's
design
like
this main character
14.
and he's going to look like a little, like, it's not even the fact that he looks like a little boy, right? He looks like a fucking elementary school kid. It's the fact that you make him wear the fucking rain hat and the stupid jacket on top of that and then go, and he is
And the
his horny
stupid
succubus
leggings and
companion.
shorts.
And you're
It's
like,
weird.
yeah, and you're like,
Like,
why?
I would feel substantially less weird about the whole dynamic if, Date from Somnium Files was the guy being harassed
Yeah.
by the ghost.
Or it's like
At
the
least he'd be
opposite.
into it.
I
Yeah,
think
but
it'd be
put
really
Date in
funny.
anything, it'd be interesting.
I
That's
think it'd be
true.
extremely
He's
funny.
an evergreen character.
Or the opposite, where it'd be extremely funny if he was like, like this kind of like, just like an adult detective, kind of like Chadish, and she's making all these horny comments, and he just doesn't give a shit at all.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing there. Like, he just like the anti-date, where he just doesn't give a shit. Where he's just like, well, you shut the fuck up. I don't care. Like, something like that. Whereas now it's just this weird girl's making really inappropriate comments to this poor teenager. And this teenager's like, I don't want to be here. And it's like, yeah, neither do I, buddy. Neither do I. And I'm 25.
Yeah. I need an adult. It's got Gohan's hairstyle too. It makes all too much sense.
Ugh.
I will say, though, I do like the detective guy that has the agency, like the chief guy. I like the chief guy.
I like
Big
how
shout-outs
he
to the
is
chief guy.
such a coward. It's hilarious.
He's a coward, and he's just like, he's got like this, hey guys, I'm the cool guy, I'm like your cool friend
How
detective.
do you do, my fellow
But I'm
students?
like, yeah, but he's 40 and he really fucking doesn't want to have a confrontation with anybody, so he's just like, yeah.
Relatable.
It's hilarious. It was really
I also
funny.
do not like confrontation.
One of the first things that he does in the because I played like the first 5 to 10 minutes of chapter 1 there, and the first thing he does is like ask Yuma to make him some food,
Yeah. He's
and
like, yeah,
then he implicates you of poisoning him when he asked the amnesiac to make him food. And he's like, yeah, well, I guess I gotta throw this out now. And he's like, Yuma's like, well, I knew that was gonna be pointless.
yeah, there's like I say, there's some fun characters. Alex Lee plays this kind of this green-haired guy who's very kind of recluse,
Like
in
textbook
like
goth kid.
like textbook goth kid, and his like sign off every time you speak to him is just like, I wish I just die. And you're like, yeah, you have fun, buddy, see you in a bit, bye.
Yeah, or like, I hope I die
not-
someday.
I
I'm
hope
I'm
I
sure you
die
will.
someday. You're just like, hey, okay, buddy, bye, wave bye. You'll be
Like-
the only person that lives this if you're saying that.
I walked
Bye-bye.
away from the first conversation with him and I'm like, I like him.
Yeah, he's interesting. But yeah,
I like all of them.
yeah, I like I say, go play it. If you're into it, go play it. If you play the Danganronpa games and you think you might like it, go play it.
You
might
probably like it enough.
Yeah, you'll probably have a higher tolerance than I will. I just feel like I'm just like, don't know if it's because I've played a lot of anime games like in recent kind of times where I'm just like sick of the tropes. But it has got to a point where I'm just like, I'm kind of getting sick. Like, when people say, hey guys, anime games are full of tropes or anime shows are full of tropes, and I'm like, there was a point a couple of years ago where I hadn't really played that many, so it was still all new to me. And then I think I played Scarlet Nexus, and that was like the point of no
Oh.
return, where everything started feeling generic.
It's a
and
shame
now,
too, because if you would have just not played Scarlet Nexus, you would have had like 4 other ones left in you.
yeah, probably, yeah, genuinely. It's also it's like I say, it's hard because these characters are cool, but not a single one of them has the personality of an AI the Somnium Files character. So it's
Yeah.
like,
Or even like one of the good Danganronpa characters.
Like I said, I've said it before and I said it again. Remember, also if you're a Danganronpa fan, remember my favorite's V3, so my opinion's invalid to like 90% of you fuckers, so it doesn't matter anyway. But I
mean, it
still
should
stand by
matter when talking
Danganronpa
about the
V3.
characters being better.
V3
because
has the best cast out of all of them. Like I'll stand my ground
Yeah.
on that one. God, I love V3. V3's great. Go and play V3. Fuck this game. Go play V3. And if you don't like the ending, God, get a grip.
Get over it.
Like, get a grip, dude.
Get over
It's
it.
actually an incredible ending. And I love it. Fuck you. Anyway,
Yeah.
Kyle, you've been here. You've listened for this shit for an hour and 20 minutes. You've just
Yeah, I
you've
know,
just
dude.
vibed.
Good job, team. We did it. We didn't think we'd make it this far.
Hell
I'm
yeah,
proud
dude.
of
Not
us.
even the spoiler cast.
Hell yeah. God,
I'm
imagine
not
the
doing a
spoiler
spoiler
cast.
cast.
That's
I'm
gonna
not
be
doing
like
a
3
no,
hours.
no, I'm not doing a spoiler cast. I fucking
Oh,
refuse.
but Ethan.
No, that can be something for mid-July when because obviously there's no more games
It can
coming out.
take
Really,
the, it
'cause
can
we're not
take the
go-
place
yeah.
of the Final Fantasy 16 spoiler cast. That won't happen because I'll still be the only one who's finished the game by that point.
Dude, it's not my fault Final Fantasy 16 didn't hook me.
It's not
Or
my
maybe
fault.
it
I
is,
can't
I
be
don't know.
fucked to
I-
start it.
Mm.
It's not my fault that I sat on it for a week.
The interesting medieval game is failing to hook me, but oh man, I'm gonna go play basketball at the Golden Saucer.
Look,
can I
dude, I'm
say?
just saying. If
Mm.
that Garuda battle was supposed to hook you, or supposed to be the hook to the game, to get you to want to stay and keep playing it, it didn't do it for me.
Mm.
Not even like anything against the fight with Garuda. I thought it was a good fight. Had a lot of cool set pieces. And it actually felt good to play. Like compared to like what I'm used to with like Kingdom Hearts 3 giant bosses. Usually those are a miserable experience. But I walked away from Garuda actually feeling good. But the problem is, I walked away from it being like, yeah, it was an enjoyable fight. But then I just don't feel like playing it. The combat
think-
is not doing anything for me, and truly I don't think the story, like kind of what you guys were saying with this game, I think the pacing just isn't good for what I was hoping it would be.
I think my problem is Final Fantasy 16, as weird as it sounds, came out at a really bad time. And what I mean by that is not like in terms of like actual release schedule, but for me it came out at a bad time where it was like I just didn't have the motivation for it. I had just like, if you look at my past video games that I played post Breath of the Wild, fucking Tears of the Kingdom. I'm already back to my shit calling that Breath of the Wild 2, Tears of the Kingdom.
Did the spoiler cast and he's already forgotten what it's
Did the
called.
spoiler cast literally 2 days ago as of recording, and this is what we're doing, right? But after playing that, it's like, what did I come back and play? And it's like, I played Life is Strange, I played Deponia, I played Full Throttle. I just played a lot of story stuff. So then to have this big action RPG come out and it to not really have those RPG mechanics and just kind of be like a RPG light hack and slash basically with a very dense and deep story, I was like, this is too much for me right now. I'll come back after I've played this fucker thing, which is basically Weeb Life is Strange, aka you still don't do fuck all but press the A button, but hey, the story is weird. But it's like, I don't know why. It's just like, same with Jedi. It's just like, I'm just like, if it wasn't for this podcast, a lot of the times, I feel like these games that I pick up and I play, sometimes I'm like, I could easily wait 3 months. I've waited 3 months to play Star Wars at this point, and I'm
Yeah,
gonna
it's
carry on
not-
waiting.
well,
How long
to
have you
be
been
fair-
waiting to play Cyberpunk?
3 years nearly, probably. Like by December, it'll be 3 years. I'm hoping that in the same way that I played The Witcher 3 last December, I'm hoping Cyberpunk will be my December game this year, where I finally play it when the DLC's out and a couple of patches have gone through just to iron out the kinks.
To be fair, if the podcast was not a thing, I would have waited for the physical version of this to be delivered to me by Amazon instead
yeah.
of buying the eShop copy. But,
So your copy's really not coming until August?
well, now it's just been canceled and I'll get it when I
Oh.
get it.
No.
There you go.
Because, like, either it'll never show up and I'll have to order it off of Amazon for $60 anyway, or I'll eventually see it at a GameStop or the other store, and it'll be heavily discounted.
I think that's
Yeah.
the thing, right? Is it's like we do play a lot of stuff that
Or it'll get ported to like the PlayStation. And I can put it
I'm
on
hoping
the
it
same.
does get
Mhm.
like honestly, I think
I can
would
put it
like
on the
this
same
game.
system that I got the rest of my Spike Chunsoft stuff on.
I
Yeah,
would
I was
like this
looking
game
at
to come out on
Raincoat,
PS4.
and I'm surprised to see it was only on Switch.
It's a Switch exclusive for now, which is crazy.
That seems
'Cause,
like it
like-
would just be like a multi-console launch.
Which don't get me wrong, it's like if you were gonna go platform exclusive, Switch probably makes the most sense for this
Yeah.
kind of game. But
For a
also,
visual novel, yeah.
man, does it show with its performance. Though it's like it looks blurry and handheld. It doesn't run that great. There's so much lag, and the input delay is a bit unreal. But you know, it is what it is. But hey, this is like my last big game that I'm buying for a while, right? Like, thanks to Xbox deciding that to have a shitty business model, I don't have to pay for Starfield or Lies of P. So that's fun. The next game I'm buying is probably Mario Wonder. So, well, I bought Spider-Man, but you know, got that for £1. Thank you. Shop that shall not be named. Because you pay me for a fucking
You're too
shout-out,
valuable.
bitch. Yeah,
we
you
can't
pay me.
name them or they'll
Can't give away the trade secrets.
Yeah.
I'd give away the trade
Also, can
secrets,
I just
but
say
fuck
it's
you.
hilarious that I put in a request for a code for Rain Code, right? And there were 8 reviews on launch day, and somehow it's too bad that I didn't wait a week or 2.
There is still, I just want to say, there is still only 24 reviews of this game.
Really?
I
That's
also
24
think-
more reviews than 1-2 Switch has got.
I also want to say that I think it's hilarious. This game starts up with a big, bold disclaimer saying, you can't stream this game unless we tell you can stream this game. Fuck you. And in that
I don't
moment,
think
I was
anyone's gonna
tempted to
watch
start my
Persona.
stream. I was tempted to fucking start my stream, dude. No, because Persona's just like, hey guys, we don't want you to show footage past, show December footage. Is that cool? And everyone goes, no, fuck you. This game's literally like, you can't fucking play this game on stream unless we've signed the dotted line and said you can. And I was genuinely tempted to be like, fuck you, I'm going live right now, dickhead.
Dude, I remember when Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, I booted that game up right on the title screen. At the top, one of the top corners, there's a little triangle button prompt that says, before you stream.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell? Why did they put this in there? It's too
Dude,
bad
this
I was
game doesn't-
already streaming at that point.
This game wasn't even a triangle button before you stream it. It just was like bold. Like the first thing you see before you see the game credit, like the companies that made it or the Unreal Engine logo. That's what you get. Is just there. You better not be fucking streaming, mate. I swear to God.
We'll come get you.
Yeah. But oh well. I guess that's that. We're done here. We're done.
Yeah.
We've talked enough today.
Can you believe this was the most on-topic episode we've ever
Yeah.
done?
Links on screen right now. We just needed a bit of anger. That's all. It's weird though, but yeah. So for the next few weeks, we're done really in terms of impressions for new games for at least a little while. July's pretty barren. I don't see any of us picking up Pikmin.
No.
Who knows?
No.
I might play the demo and just give some impressions close to the time. You never know.
You'll play the demo and be convinced not to buy it. Like what happens
Yeah,
with
well,
all
here's
the
the thing,
Nintendo
guys.
demos.
I could say to you, oh yeah, I'll buy it, but then I'll only play 2 hours, and then I'll never play it
would be
again.
the same.
And the demo will be 2
like Fire
hours.
Emblem.
So yeah, and the demo
Or
will be 2
Final
hours.
Fantasy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, I will play Final Fantasy. I will probably start it. Probably not after this because I have like a week off in July. I'll probably play it then. When I can just sit down and play it. That's why I'm also scared about this game, because I wanted to get as much of it done as I could this weekend, because I know as soon as I get to weekdays, this game won't fucking fit into anybody's schedule, dude. Like, Jesus Christ, this game does not respect your time.
Oh, it does not. Oh my god.
The fucking
Yeah, because
6-hour
I'm
chapters,
going
dude.
right back to Final Fantasy. I guess that says something about this game too, because I started Horizon while I was towards the end of the Great Ace Attorney, and I couldn't. I put a pause on Horizon to finish Great Ace Attorney, and like the same would have been true of Somnium Files. Like that'd be activity stopping stuff. I'm going back to Final Fantasy for this, and then and then when I'm done with that, I'll come back to Master Detective here.
They're saying that this game is apparently 25 hours.
Oh my god.
That somehow sounds wrong, just given what I don't know how many chapters
Some
there
of these mystery, yeah, because I've played 10 hours and I've done chapters 0, prologue, and 1, and there's at least chapters numbered 2 through 5 before an epilogue. So it's like that doesn't add up unless some of these mysteries. I'm open. Maybe mysteries 3 and 4 just
maybe
an hour
get
long.
shorter.
Yeah,
maybe they get truncated. Maybe it gets better.
We can dream. Maybe we'll talk about it at some point on the podcast. I'll keep playing it, and then I'll finish it, and then I won't write the review for it because I'm a dickhead. I don't care. I wrote the Rumble review. It's so critically acclaimed. People are on eager breath, like they're waiting on bated breath for my next review. And you won't be disappointed when I review Starfield 4 weeks late because I'm away. So it's gonna be great. It's fine. But anyway, we'll be back next week. What are we doing next week? We just I don't know.
Game of the year so far.
Year recap.
Game of the year recap. We'll see what we're doing next week. But yeah, in the meantime, I guess, make sure to hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, punch that Twitter button if it's still alive by the time this episode's out. Follow us on your favorite podcast service. Leave a nice review if you're so inclined. We appreciate it. And we'll be back next week with whatever the hell we have in store. Thanks for listening. If you listen to this, if you listen to me and Hunter just bitch, and when I say me and Hunter, I mean mostly me, bitch about this fucking video game. Because I dominate any conversation that I'm angry at, dude. Just fucking scream into the void.
I mean, I did say that part of the game made me want to send myself into the sun. I'm not completely absolved of complaining here.
True. But thank you for getting this far regardless, I guess. Anyway, we'll be back next week to talk about games of the year so far. Will Rayco be on there? Let's find out next week.
I have to finish it first.
It's a strong year. Anyway, until then, have an awesome week. Yeah, we'll see you next time, I guess. Bye.
See ya.
Toodaloo.